Many men have nothing to smile about. Been broke down, too proud to cry it out. Walk a mile in my boots and you know what I'm about. I took some licks and I took some hits and I found out them bones can actually break sticks. But them words are powerful as shit.
All right, there we go. Well, welcome, Ben.
Hey,
Man, it's been a pleasure. I've been trying to get you on here, and my schedule's been all over the place,
yeah.
and so I'm just glad that we're finally able to make it happen.
I'm glad you invited me. Thank you.
Yeah,
This is fun.
and just I've been thinking about your art. I don't know if you want to start with where we met and how we met. I don't know if you've thought about that or if you remember all the details to that.
Man, I remember the print that I purchased from you. I found your print, and I don't remember how I found it. I came across your art somehow. And that print was very similar to, like, it wasn't similar to my style, but it had that look to it. You know, like, it was that little purple robot guy, and he had the big eyes on him. And it was just like, I thought, I got to have a print of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that started, it was funny because I find that same thing happens when I'm on Instagram. I'm looking at all this beautiful art.
Right.
And I see artists that I don't remember when I added them. I don't know if they added me first.
Right.
It's just a blur. It's all a blur. And so I was like, okay, who this person's local.
Yeah.
I said, this guy's local. And you had a bunch of your art, and then we met. We're at like Fred Meyer's.
Yep.
And then we had this like conversation for about 40 minutes, I think.
My kid was taking his driving test.
Yes. I remember thinking when I left, I'm like, that guy is so cool.
Oh, thanks. I was thinking the same thing.
Right. And then I'm slow. So it finally dawned on me. I'm like, yeah, we need to do a podcast together and just discuss whatever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And just like kind of get to know each other on the podcast, maybe even more. We've had some really good conversations. I don't know if you want to talk about your art and kind of some of the things that your journey, with all that.
Yeah. So I started drawing as a kid. Obviously, it was you're just drawing, and then family's telling you, oh, that looks pretty good. And you're thinking, who's going to tell you that? Your family's going to tell you that, right? They like it. Right. They'll be the ones to buy it. They'll be the ones interested in it.
Right.
And so I just had been drawing my whole life. Did some time at the Art Institute in Seattle, and I was going in for digital animation and switched it to graphic design, and probably not my best move because I really wanted to learn the digital, like the animation, work for Industrial Light and Magic or do something more on the computers where it just was like, that stuff just looked really cool, and then graphic design is great. And I made a career out of it for a long time, working in Tacoma and all over the place. But it's just, after that, became a dad. I worked, didn't really focus too much on art, kind of put that on the back burner. And that was one of the biggest mistakes was like, as a parent, it's hard to know what to do, like how much time to spend on yourself. You kind of get lost in that shuffle of, putting them first and everything. And so I ended up, you just kind of chilling on it, and working. I mean, I did it for a job, but personally, I didn't really mess with it too much.
That I find that something that's a very common thing is that two things in there that you said I think are really powerful was like the putting it on the back burner and then the piece of parenting. I don't have kids, and my world looks so different artistically with children.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
But what's interesting is like I keep finding that it's a common story, and it's been my story as well, of artists stepping away from their art at some point.
Yeah.
Not just like, oh, I didn't draw for a month.
Yeah.
But like maybe a few years.
Yeah. 15, 16 years.
Right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And what's funny is there was a gentleman, he's here in, he's no longer here in Tacoma, but he's in Gig Harbor. He turned 80 last year.
Okay.
Has made his life living and career on being an artist. And he was telling me his early journey. I mean, he's a well-established artist, and he had stepped away from the art too.
Yeah.
For several years.
Right.
And so I think it's something that, I think that's why it's important to have these conversations, and for artists to talk to each other and to, like we talked about yesterday, the vulnerability and getting very real, because there's like a behind-the-scenes reality.
Right.
Where like next year, end of this year, some of your art could be like bigger than it's ever been before, and no one will even know that there was 15 years that you stepped away.
Right.
There was this time that you were being a parent.
Yeah.
And then I think what you said also is, and I don't know if you want to respond to it or not, is parenting is knowing how to divide your time between yourself and your kid, because I think there's like a cultural stigma or understanding that put the kids first.
Yeah.
No matter what.
Yeah.
Sacrifice yourself.
Yeah.
You're the sacrificial lamb. But I don't know if that's always the best thing.
It's not the best thing.
There you
I think
go.
you have to find that common ground. You have to be able to, because at the end, you're going to show your kids that you can still be successful at what you love to do while you're teaching them how to be successful and do what they love to do. So you kind of have that when you stop doing it, I mean, I drew here and there, I would do a few logos on and off, but for the most part, like I'm drawing now, I never, that just took, I didn't do that at all.
Right.
And, yeah. And it's just, yeah, you just find yourself putting all your responsibility into parenting.
Right. And I think I feel like you're speaking to that maybe you learn that if you reallocated that time, that would have still been valuable, and they wouldn't have been neglected.
Right.
They wouldn't have
Right.
been like, oh, he doesn't even feed us.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Because I have a family member. I have a friend. They told their parents, they were like, you don't take care of me, so I'm gonna take care of myself, and that was their reality.
Right.
And I thought it was powerful that this person they were young.
Yeah.
And their parents didn't.
Yeah.
And their parents could.
Right.
But they probably were able, but mentally and emotionally,
Yeah.
they didn't.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't a situation like that. That's
Right.
not what we're talking about. It's like you probably, but here's the thing. You learn that very hard, valuable lesson or thing. I don't know if it's a lesson. And you still have like all this like life now, to live and to create art. And I think that's some of the things we were talking about off the air.
Yeah.
You want to dig maybe a little deeper in your practice.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's, I look at my art now and kind of think a lot of it has to do with being a dad with 2 kids, 2 boys. Fart humor, right? It's fart humor all day long. Ask my wife; it drives her crazy, right? I mean, it's like it all turns into that, and even the art is turned into that. In a lot of ways, they're like little cartoon characters, but I mean, I have a series of butts, that they're just like I got like 30 of them, and it's like why would I draw that? Where's this inspiration coming from? I think a lot of it comes from being a parent,
Right.
and a lot of it just is having young kids around and watching them grow and. It's just the funniest thing, that I was lost even, during that time. I didn't know what to draw. I didn't know where, how do you get to that point where it's like for example, I talk to people who are artists and they don't have kids, right? And I think that must be like, that's the artist's dream, right? To not have kids, right? I mean, and it sounds bad, but it's like, what do you do? Like, I got to run in and do some dishes, right? I'm going to do this. I got to do that. You're running kids to school, you're doing this. And then where does that, it's so hard to like put yourself back into that space to create.
Yeah.
Right. I didn't feel there was a space to create with just being so, busy doing other stuff.
There's only, I have a great appreciation for that because there's only so much time in the day. Like when you wake up, there's what, breakfast, getting kids ready, getting them to school, and how long all that takes.
Right.
Then it's like by the time you're done with that, there's lunch. And just like, how do you find food? How you cook? How do you buy food? And then by the time you're done with that, there's picking them all back up,
Right.
getting them all back home, and dinner, and then it's over. That day's over, and it's just
done.
rinse and repeat over. And so I really appreciate trying to find. We're not even talking about it like how to figure out work or money, right? On top of all that.
Yeah.
So how do you find time to be a creative? And it's funny when you said dad jokes and fart jokes. I had a conversation yesterday with a family member, and we're talking art and we're talking this, and this family member stops and starts talking to their son, and it's, okay, I want you to, this is the conversation, I want you to turn your underwear around the right way, go fix your desk for school tomorrow, and then brush your teeth again. And brush your teeth again, I was like, that's hilarious, right?
Yeah.
But and then he's like, okay, back to what you were saying. That was, that's reality.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so now you're transitioning to a different season, right?
Definitely.
With family dynamics and kids growing up.
Yep. Yeah.
And it's probably a bittersweetness, right?
It is. I mean, in the raising the kids, I don't think they were away from me for like 2 weeks the entire time they were growing up. And then my oldest joins the Marines, and he's gone for, almost a year. And through COVID, we missed the graduation. We missed a whole bunch of stuff. So that was pretty hard. He was able to come home for a little while. He came home, he left, was there for the holidays, left, then came back. Now he's in North Carolina. And that's where he lives now. He's stationed there. So that's been a struggle. But at the same time, I've got another one at home. He's 17. He's going to graduate in November, and then he's going to start figuring out his own stuff. So it is bittersweet. It's great though, because they're doing their thing. They're successful in their ways, and that as a parent is what you want. And I mean, I'm only 45, so I got, if I'm lucky, I get another, this is only halfway done, right? So it's like I should get another 45 years.
Let's do it.
Take your vitamins,
right,
and hope that it turns out all right.
Yeah, vitamins and water, right? Vitamins, water to sleep, and let's create some art for the next 45.
Yeah.
And one thing that what I've seen when you say that, I've seen this happen where I've seen people. When I was in my 30s, I started to notice people that were in their 60s that had all this energy. And I think they thought when they were younger that by the time they got to 60, they would be decrepit and lifeless, and they're not. No. There's tons of life to live.
Yeah.
And I think the trick is to not get caught up in kind of the age or the number and think that you're old. And I don't think that's something that you're a pretty thoughtful guy from what I can tell, like all our conversations. And it's like, there's going to be a lot of life to live, and a lot, as long as we take our vitamins, drink our water.
I hope so.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. We may be masked up or, growing extra horns, who knows?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But that'll create some good art.
Yeah. Definitely.
But yeah, so thinking about that, and then thinking about what you said about your son, the Marine. It was a different transition in quarantine, and having him go through. It's kind of like a rite of passage, really. The Marines is going to make you a man.
Oh yeah.
It's You're not going to graduate from that and not pass the test.
Right.
A Marine there may not be B and C Marines.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's, he's, He's amazing. I mean, it's like the stuff he's doing now, and the things he's training to be, medic and stuff like this. He went in for communications. He's doing other stuff. He's just busy, and I just love to see it, But I knew that he was going to do it. I knew that, I knew it was going to be hard, but I knew he was going to do it because, it's just he had that mindset.
And you knew him. He's your son.
Yeah.
You know what you. I feel like I don't have children, but I feel like my little nieces and nephews, I could see them pretty clearly now.
Right.
Like I have a niece that she's either going to be a lawyer. I'm going to go ahead and say it, or a criminal.
Okay.
A good criminal.
Right.
And I love her to death. And I'll probably get crucified for saying that, but it's the truth. She's so smart and powerful.
Right.
So powerful.
Yeah.
She would negotiate everything. And I'm going, you're two.
Yeah.
How are you negotiating? Yeah, I remember we're going on a walk, and she's like, let's go down to the mailbox. I said, all right, let's go to the mailbox and we'll come back.
Right.
We get to the mailbox. Hey, let's go a little further to the light post. I'm like, you little booger are now just negotiating a little bit more. Now you got the whole factory.
Yeah.
You're two.
Yeah.
Or however old you are when you can talk. I don't have kids, so I don't know.
Yeah. It varies.
Right. You have someone come
Sometimes you wish they didn't talk. You know what I mean? It's like,
he's like, he's so articulate.
Yeah.
I can't handle it.
Yeah. It's been a fun ride, and I think even in my 20s, I didn't really know who I was. I knew I was a dad. I knew I was raising kids, but I don't think my art would have been anything I would have enjoyed doing, just because I don't really know. Life was just different then, and I just don't know if I would have been in the mind space to be creating the way I really want to be creating.
I think that's a very huge statement what you just said there, because I remember when I was 19 and had this energy and wanted to be a cartoon artist and I didn't have enough life to live to really pour into cartoons.
Right.
The cartoons that I admired were so deep and so full and so well written and well drawn, and they were from a mature artist that had lived some life.
Yeah.
So I think like with your work, me having kind of the vantage point of looking at your work closely, I feel like the best is really yet to come. With now you have you've raised human beings.
Yeah.
And they're still alive and well and doing and successful.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
They like your oldest son has been tested.
Right.
By a very, very efficient testing machine.
Yes.
And he's passed the test.
Yeah.
Wow. Right?
Yeah.
So
he excelled at it. And I mean, and my other son, he's working at Popeyes, and he's just succeeding too, just a different path. But it's the same, it's the same success. I carry that same pride for both of them, because they're doing what they're supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
And I attribute a lot of that to being disabled and raising them that way. It changes the way, it changes their perspective on humans. It changes your perspective on raising them. They help me do things that might have been difficult for me, or whatever. Luckily, they both got a lot taller than me, so they were able to, do things that were way up there, that I didn't want to do, or whatever. But yeah, I mean, it's just. That itself has been such an incredible journey that I think that was the creation that I was working on, were the kids. That was the art that I was working on. Like the canvas was them, right? And I had to get those paintings done. I had to get that artwork completed before. Excuse me, man.
No, you're good.
You see that?
You're good. You're totally good.
Tear this place up.
Right.
I had to get that done before moving on to, myself and my own art. Right.
That was your art. It really is. And I heard someone say this, that that children is the highest level of creation. And it is. It's human life.
Yeah.
Right. And then it's not just the conception, the birthing process, but the culturation and the putting together of that masterpiece. Because I had a beautiful conversation last night that when you have your own children, this is from another father. He said, they are all of your shit. Whatever you are, how you parent is going to be reflected in them, and it comes right back at you.
Yeah.
He goes, if you adopt, he goes, it's kind of someone else's.
Right.
He goes, you got a little bit of a scapegoat.
Right.
But you don't when it's your kids.
Yeah.
So that's a huge statement. You were making, that was the art that you were creating. And as an artist, whatever we touch, we create, we add to. It's part of our DNA, our makeup, our human design. And I realize that. Like, we create in our relationships, we create in the world, we create on whatever the canvas is, we create.
Right.
And so, yeah, I think you said it right there. That was your art for that time.
Yeah.
And I can see how proud. And then the layer of a disabled body. It's weird because it is, and I can't speak from a personal experience on the physical, but I can see how you have transmuted it into a superpower.
Yeah, kind of like an X-Men.
Yeah.
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 Dude, that would be a cool shirt.
That would be a cool shirt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That, or just a piece, because it could be on a shirt, but it could be, you could put that in, like, I think there's something there.
Yeah.
I think they're just that just what, because you added that it was the potion, the secret potion. As you're raising your kids, you got everybody else around you. They're raising their kids, but you have something extra that they are going to they had to consider, and it shaped who they are.
Right.
There's something powerful about that.
And I'm stubborn, and and when I talk, it's like I spoke fairly honestly to them all the time. It's probably too much, so that it was like, but at the end, I mean, they're good, well-rounded human beings, I think. So,
right?
I can't complain.
Right, because time, it was funny, I was watching the little clip that Michael Che, he did. He was like, everybody's always saying that they don't want their kids to see this stuff on TV. And he was like, I want my kids to see everything.
Yeah.
Because they don't have a dad, so I want them to, and he's joking.
Right.
But it's like, I was called nigger at 6.
Okay.
Kids can handle it.
Yeah.
We can handle, they were like, I was 6 years old, they were like, kick that nigger's ass.
Right.
That was when I learned it. And so I think kids can handle more than we think.
Yeah.
Now, I know there is trauma. We all have trauma. I was traumatized, but it didn't kill me.
Right.
It educated me.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it was just the processing that kids go through.
Right.
Because the C word for me, cripple, would be the same thing, right?
Right.
And that
painful.
And going to school, and when you have a physical disability that everybody can see, you definitely look at the world a lot differently. You see everybody differently because everybody's looking at you at some point. And you're not. Everybody's just trying to figure it out. What's going on? And it all goes back even up into last week. I went to Petco, and the guy behind the counter who is, I never use cash, right? I always use a card because I don't like dealing with cash. I don't like the change.
Right.
I'm going to drop it.
Right.
So I always go with a card, right? Well, as soon as I pull the card out, the guy's like, "Whoa, what's wrong with your hands?"
Oh, wow.
Right? And it's like, and this is a grown person, right?
Right.
And you're thinking, it's like, I was born like that, and it's like, why? What do you think happened in my life that brought me to this point, right? Like what, my younger brother, he used to tell people that I had stopped a train. Now, that's absolutely impossible to do, right? But it's like that's what you used to tell people. People would be like, "What's wrong with your brother's hands?" Like, "Oh, he stopped a train."
I love it.
Well, it's like, as real as that isn't, people that really,
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, why not?
Right. Because our brains are, we don't know what to do.
Right,
We don't know, should we address it?
right,
Should we look at it? Should we not? Should we ignore it? Is that the polite thing to do?
Right.
But then when we ignore certain things, it's kind of like when you ignore certain things, then you're not seeing it.
Yeah.
You're not honoring almost.
Right.
Right? It's like, oh, I don't see color. Well, certain people want you to see their color.
Yeah.
They want you to acknowledge it.
yeah,
Just don't acknowledge it in an offensive way. Well, how do you do that?
Yeah.
We don't know. It's certain things we almost have to hurt each other to get understanding.
right, Yeah.
And then when is it appropriate? Like, at what level is our friendship? Do we address that?
Yeah.
Because perfect strangers almost don't have the right. But then it's like you're gonna get situations like that.
yeah,
You didn't know him. Did he?
Yeah, yeah,
He's he's commenting on your personal. It's like, bro. But
Yeah.
then it's like, where it's different in each person, because I know you, and the only getting to know you, we're
Right.
just kind of getting to know each other, but I can tell you're a very thoughtful, powerful person, and someone else, it may affect them differently,
right.
and I don't really know how how did you feel after that, and how did you navigate that situation?
You almost just laugh it off. At this point, I mean, I think when I was younger, I'd be like, how do I feel? How do you feel about that?
This isn't new.
Right. This isn't new. This has been my whole life. Right. So it's like you get to a point where you're like, you just assume people are curious and they don't really know how to address it without being offensive.
Right.
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 And I think that goes with everybody.
Right.
Right. It's like, I think when people stick with like people who are the same color as them because it's easy. It's not like they don't have to. There's no boundaries you really have to test, right? And so you kind of can stay in your own little comfort zone with people who are like you,
Right.
Right. Now I don't meet a lot of people like me. Right. So it's like there's not, it's rare enough to where I know two artists. One is she's in Atlanta and she draws with her mouth, and she had what I have is called arthrogryposis, and what it does is it affects your joints, your tendons, and it can get as bad as like you can be confined to a wheelchair, and I've seen the artists draw with their feet. So then I see these people and I'm like, I got nothing to complain about, right? Like this is, for me to ever say, oh, poor me, it's like, that's just stupid. Because there's people doing it out there and they're doing it just as on the same level as we are with their hand and their feet. I mean, their mouth and their feet. It's like, no.
There is something I think is important, and you can let me know if this is not honoring, but you kill it on the drawing. Like you're a very high level artist.
Oh, thank you.
And I see people that don't have any challenges as far as their motor skills, and they're not there yet.
Yeah.
And it's like you're there.
Yeah.
As your art is, you're a professional.
It's a bit crazy. I mean, I have a lot. Like, if you actually sat and watched me work, you'd probably think I'm nuts, right? Like, I do a lot of digital stuff, not with a mouse. I just use the trackpad on my Apple, and it's like, it just seems to work, right? But it's like that's just comfortable for me.
Yeah, sure does.
But it's yeah. I mean, it's when people ask you, how do you hold a pencil, and you're like, I mean, they don't see what you're capable of.
Right.
Right. So, it goes with everybody. Like everybody's capable of something. Everybody. And it's just it's just taking the time to really like getting to know you has been great, and it's like seeing your art and, and having these parking lot conversations, and
Yes.
it's like, those are cool because they just show up and they're just there, you know.
It was very special meeting you, and we have just a little bit of time left here on our. So I'll spend a few seconds on that. It was incredible meeting you, and I would love to do this more on the podcast and do more. Do collaborations and really just see how your how we can promote your art and just push everything forward. Do you want to share on your Instagram and maybe website? I don't know if you want to share that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm on.
Where can people find you?
Yeah, I'm on Instagram at Mr. Ben Bartlett. Same thing with the website. It's a Square website because it's free.
There we go.
So you know how that works.
Yes.
So I think that's like, how do they do that? MrBenBartlett.square.space or something like that.
Yeah, you're marketing for them.
Right. Yeah, I'm gonna let me give them a shout out. Yeah. And I mean that's about it right now. Where I'm mostly Instagram. I try to avoid the Facebook situation too much. It just doesn't. I like the layout. I like the feel of Instagram has that portfolio feel to it, so you can go in there and really scroll through and see everything that people are doing, without having to scroll for hours or go to their photos. But yeah, I mean, it's like.
That's beautiful. So I will continue to promote your stuff, and we'll continue to collaborate on T-shirts, and of course, we'll get the hoodie for the wife, whatever works out.
Yeah, I got to get that.
Yeah,
I got to get that.
But thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me.
Coming on.
It's been fun.
Yeah,
it's my first podcast.
There we go.
Legendary.
Thank you, everyone. This is Let the Paint Dry, and this is my guest, Ben. Make sure you go follow him, support him, buy his T-shirts. Love you guys. Do work that matters.